Hi, my name is Vikash and I'm creating this video so you can better understand my project for DNS hosting. To start with, we're gonna go to www.flymail.com. Gonna click on my account. I'll provide these credentials for you, but we're gonna log into the web hosting area. I'm going to click on login. This is the main web hosting dashboard. From here we're going to go from web hosting, other services, DNS hosting. We're going to click on sign up over here. Now, another programmer has already worked on this and he's done certain parts but not entirely. So what this feature allows the user to do is enter multiple domains for the DNS hosting service. This box actually needs to be moved over, but that's not a big deal. So let's just put any information in here. I'll show you how it works. These TLDs are supposed to be pulled from the API. I'm not sure if the programmer set it up where he's hard-coded these domains, TLDs I mean, or if they're being pulled from the API. But preferably they need to be set up so they're being pulled from the API. And I would want the full list of TLDs, which means the extensions for a domain name. So to add multiple domains, you just click on the more. You can select any one of these and you can keep going. And then what you do is click on next step. This should not be highlighted, so that needs to be fixed. The default should not be that it's highlighted. As you can see, I've added 3 items to the shopping cart and they're in there, so that appears to be working. Actually, in this third step, DNS hosting should not even appear because we're already purchasing DNS hosting. So it should not be looked upon as an add-on. Now over here, for some reason, this appeared over here as a second item to this because it's already here. So that's an issue that needs to be fixed. Let's see if it disappeared. No, it's still in there. This is already working where you can select different number of years. You can also change this to manual renewal and vice versa. Change it back to auto renewal. So on this needs to be fixed. This should not appear. I don't know what's in the code that's causing that to happen, but let's see. When we go to checkout, there's 3 items in the shopping cart, so the cart's not recognizing this item. I don't know why it's in there. Over here, for some reason the city is not, I don't think the field is mapped correctly, but anyway. XYHAY. Okay. When you hit make payment, as you can see, there's an ID. I really don't like this page. It will be changed in the future, but for now, we just want to get that ID right there because I want to show you. That payment ID, that plugin pay transaction ID is actually the order number. It's not the invoice number, but the order number. When you go to my dashboard and my order history, it should actually appear over here if I clicked on all products and go, but it's not doing it. My programmer had made some changes and I believe that's the reason that has messed up. Otherwise that part is working. So if you go to Linux hosting and purchase a web hosting account, you will see it reflected in my order history, which is what I want. That order number should actually appear in my order history along with all the details. Then when you click on it, a receipt pops up. But what I've done for that is Let me show you in File Manager. If you go to web hosting, my dashboard. See this file right here, the order receipt, I put modified by past programmer, and I put the original file back in there. Same thing with the web hosting, my order history, modified by past programmer, and I put the original one back in there. So I think it's the code that's leading to the order history, the reason why it's not being populated in the order history. Otherwise, that part of it works. So that code needs to be fixed as well. And the best thing to do is just walk through Linux hosting and all the files, that the 4-step process for the Linux hosting, because it is working perfectly. So if you selected an item over here, filled out all this information, walked through the 4-step process, you will see that everything works perfectly. But on this task, your goal is to, the objective of this task is to code the 4-step process for the DNS hosting sign up. So basically, when someone is signing up for DNS hosting, I'm a reseller of DNS hosting service through enom.com. I'm already signed in. So if you go over here, when we do purchase DNS hosting, it should be reflected. Let me click on email hosting. So that's what I thought. It's not typing. There we go. So when we do click on hosting, DNS hosting, manage, no, it's running pretty slow. Hopefully it'll show up. So while it's pulling up, let me just, there it goes. So if you do set up the 4-step process, after the payment is made on the 4th step, there's a cron job. This cron job, you may have to modify some code within the cron job to make the actual purchase process occur, so that the actual DNS hosting appears within this area of enom. Because if you just make a payment over here, your tables over here will get updated. Well, they should get updated. So that's another thing. Under my PHP admin, let me show you what's going on over here. Oh, I must have hit File Manager. Okay, right here under try, that's the database. So the tables that get updated when someone purchases, an existing user purchases DNS hosting, this table right here should get updated. I believe the domain add-ons possibly gets updated. DNS hosting gets updated. And I'm not sure if the web hosting does. Maybe it does. Invoice items also gets updated. So you really, and the cart, you should look to make sure that items are appropriately being added to the cart and being removed from the cart when there's no items in the cart over here. So it's basically accounts will have some information, cart, customer invoice, DNS hosting, maybe domain, add-ons, invoice items, and maybe web hosting. So those tables you may want to focus on, but the best thing to do is DNS hosting is actually coded in the old design. So if you go to flymill.com/DNS hosting.php, and I'll provide this link for you. If you go here and then you look at this old design, The entire process from beginning to end works in this old design, where you can purchase DNS hosting and it will appear right here, because after the cron job is run, that DNS hosting account will appear in Enum, which is what we want it to happen. Also, the appropriate tables should be updated. The customer invoice, the invoice items, and any other tables that need to be updated with the latest information once a purchase is made for DNS hosting. Also, the other item for this, when you go to My Dashboard, you should see over here this total increase by 1. If you purchase 1 DNS hosting account, it should increase by 1. Let's say I purchased 3 on 3 different domains, then that should go up by 3. These top 3 items, I always want them to remain on the top, regardless of if their user has purchased no items of MySSL certificates. These 3 items should still appear regardless of the counts of services purchased. These items on the bottom need to be programmed so that the 0 items do not appear. Only ones that have been purchased, where the user is going to go in and manage by clicking on this. For example, for my web hosting, there's 2 web hosting accounts. So if someone clicked on here, they will go to this area right here, and then they will be able to manage this. They can upgrade. Now the upgrade is also set up for the 4-step process for this web hosting, so you can check the code on that as well, because it will help you when you're setting up DNS hosting, the 4-step process. And that's pretty much it. So to recap, well, let me show you the API first. This is very important. Enum has sent me a link that goes from api.enum.com, and this is what you need to use, because this is the latest and greatest according to Enum. So over here, when you're setting up DNS hosting, you will want to know the commands that are used for setting up DNS hosting. So the purchase hosting command is what is used to purchase DNS hosting, and you would have to look at all these parameters over here that are required, and maybe even the optional ones. Now the payments are being made through my system, so this is not going to be applicable right here, use credit card, because we're not using the credit card system from Enum. We're using Plug and Pay, which is the payment system that I'm using. But you will have to look through this, because this is what's going to allow the actual function to work, allow it to purchase DNS hosting. So you can see what the API for the test command is. And let me go ahead and show you where to add your API for the test. If you go to the home page on Enum, and then this is very important as well. If you go to I forgot where it is. Maybe it's under resellers. If you go under resellers, am I logged in? That's maybe the issue. Well, I can locate it for you, but there's are 2 places where you would have to enter your API, not your API, your IP address. So there's a section in the development mode where you'd have to enter your IP address. This is for testing. If you want to do any tests, if you go into right here, this is the page I was looking for. Okay. So if you go down here, you scroll down over here, you'll see Enum API. There's a section called Enum API. Here's the live environment interface and also a test environment interface. If you click on it, let's say the test environment, this is where you would have to add your IP address. In order for your testing to be successful, that's where you'd enter it. And same thing with a live. If you saw where I was just a minute ago, there's a live area where you can also add your IP address. That will allow you to run tests. And if you do purchase items in the live environment, which I know you will have to test the DNS hosting sooner or later, and run the Q file, the cron job. If you do test it, please be sure not to add too many expensive items. Just add one DNS hosting that's the cheapest item, because you want to make sure that it's working all the way throughout, that once you make the purchase it ends up in here when you go to DNS hosting manage. It should end up over here, even though the customer's not going to manage it from here, but we have to see that it does end up here so we know that it has been purchased. For example, the user will manage it from their dashboard. For example, if they go to dashboard, when this says has account, the user will be able to click on this link and then manage it, just like web hosting is already set up. So if you go over here, if the user wanted to log into their account, they can just click on this. If they wanted to upgrade their account, they can click this, renew, delete their account, etc. So, and the upgrade again works perfectly, so if you wanted to look at how the 4-step process for that works, you can also do that. But our focus on this one is just the DNS hosting, the purchase process, and then the management process of the DNS hosting. So for right now, I'm gonna recap once again quickly, because I think I probably have repeated this a couple of times, but our goal is to set up the 4-step process. Most of it has already been set up, but as you saw, there are issues, such as you saw what was in the shopping cart, something that wasn't supposed to be there. And when you click on payment, the appropriate tables should be populated. And at the end, when you run the Q file, you should be able to see the item reflected over here. And all these tables that have DNS hosting in them, maybe the domain add-ons, maybe the web hosting, customer invoice, the invoice items, those tables should be updated with appropriate information. My order history should have the actual order number in there, along with the receipt, where you can click on the order number and you'll see that receipt pop up. But all that should be working. I don't know what the past programmer has done, but you can check the Linux hosting and see exactly how that is working, and you will see that the order history page will be populated with the order number. You can click on it and you'll see a receipt pop up. So the same thing needs to work for DNS hosting. Alright, that's it. So I hope this video has been helpful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.